We could ask people to please gather behind the family chairs on the
Podium up here.
Yes, sir. Laura, Kleenex. If I may have your attention, please. At this time, we're going to begin the funeral services here for Mrs. Rosalyn Weiner. As we begin the funeral service, I would ask if any of you might have a cell phone or any other noise-making device, please turn them off at this time. Officiating the service here today is Rabbi Yochanan Posner.
We're going to begin with reciting Tehillim, Perek Chav Gimel, Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Roi lo yachzor, B'nois deshe yarbitzeini, Yalmei menuchos yinahaleni, Nafshi yeshoivev yanchei, B'tzedek leman shemoi, Gam ki elech begeit salmaves, lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha heima yinachamuni. Taroich lefanai shulchane getzoirirai. Tishanta vashem en roishi kai sirevaya. Ach toiva chesed yudifuni kol yemei chayoi. Chativ sadinoi la'oirech yamim. Now in English, it's found in the service pamphlet. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thy present table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Please be seated. We've gathered here today to celebrate the life of Rosalyn Weiner, Razel Bas Yitzchak. Rosalyn was born in 1928, the youngest of four sisters. Her family came from Romania, and she grew up on Chicago's West Side. She knew she was Jewish, but they didn't teach her that much about Judaism. Her mother lit candles with her head covered, and they kept the candles under the sink. And of course, as a kid, they kept kosher. Tragically, when she was 13, her mother passed away, and then she went to live with her older sister. Doubly tragically, not long after that, her sister also passed away, and then she lived with her cousins. Her father was around, but men did not raise little girls in those days. Her mother was very influential in her life, and she retained memories from her mother. She learned Yiddish songs and Yiddish expressions, and she knew how to express herself when she was flabbergasted in Yiddish. And of course, she loved the Jewish holidays and Jewish and Yiddish culture. As a teen, she worked in a dime store, took a bus to school, and even had the opportunity to attend a Jewish summer day camp. 1946, Irving came back from the war, and they met on a blind date in the Aragon Ballroom. And it famously ended when he gave her a dime and said, "Call me." And amazingly, she called him. And she knew after a short time that this is the man for me. They got married, lived on the West Side in Albany Park, at first with his mother, and then they moved into their own apartment. In 1948, David was born. In 1951, Noreen was born. And 1955, Michael was born. 1957, they moved to Skokie, and then 1983, they moved to Buffalo Grove. Irving worked very hard to earn money to support the growing family, and he had multiple jobs. He had a second job by night delivering pizza. And of course, Rosalyn came along, and that was when she famously fell out of the car. But that was the way they lived. They did everything together for 75 years, literally everything together. She loved the long drives. She didn't drive. She didn't need to drive because Irving drove, and it wasn't as if she ever went out without him, so why did she need a license? And together, they were invincible. They drove through a hurricane for a family wedding. They drove to Kenosha during COVID. They did everything together. Every Saturday night, they went for a dinner and a movie, and then they offered their own reviews on the movie. They were like Siskel and Ebert. They would drive to take in the fresh air. They drove to the lake, but they would stay in the car because enough air comes in through the open windows. They shopped together, and they walked up and down every single aisle in the store. They collected things. They bought trinkets together to commemorate special occasions and events in their lives, and they would talk about it and explain to themselves why this particular item was meaningful to them. When they had grandchildren, so they prepared well in advance for Hanukkah. 8 gifts for 8 nights, but then there's the special gift, which meant being at the store at 3 a.m. to be there when it opens, to buy just the right gift that would have long-term value for their grandchildren. Rosalyn taught Irving how to clean the house. They never ever had help for the last years, and it had to be done in just the right way and using the right products. And over time, her ways became his ways. They were always together, but there also were exceptions. Actually, only one exception. And that exception was that she allowed him out of her sight to go bowling once a week. But it came with conditions. The condition was he would bring back a chocolate phosphate, which she would wake up out of her bed to drink in the night. So why were they always together? The reason is because they both believed that they were responsible to care for each other's well-being, mutual care. So she would give him what he wanted. After a long day of work, what he wanted was bread, meat, potatoes, bread, and more bread. And of course, never tomatoes. And he trained himself to want what she wanted, which was basically one thing, or two things, order and cleanliness. And so, together, they cleaned the house. There was no dust, because dust is dusty. there were no plants because plants grow in dusty dirt. And there was a tadpole for a short while, but that Ignat, what was his name? Ignatz. But then the tadpole grew legs, and that became way too jumpy, and that's also kind of like dirty, so that tadpole had to go. She cleaned the inside of the car using a makeup brush, and even when she couldn't go out, just knowing that her car had been in the car wash gave her internal joy. And they used old toothbrushes to clean the hard-to-reach spots. She raised 3 kids, and they were well-trained. Those kids knew what was the pathway to take to protect the living room carpet. They cleaned the crystals in the chandelier, and they were a team. So generally, Rosalyn did the cooking. But when there were fried foods to be prepared, so that couldn't happen in the house. It's way too dusty and dirty to do it in the house. So he took pleasure in providing for her, and he cooked the latkes outside. And of course, nobody wore shoes inside. And this is how they raised their children together. Rosalyn and Irving together raised happy, healthy, well-fed Jewish children who know to wear a jacket in 80-degree weather. Kids who know not to go to the beach, because if you go to the beach, you come back from the beach. And when you come back, there might be some sand that gets tracked into the house. Well, they were almost well-trained because there was that one time that Noreen went to the beach. But before coming home, she went to a friend's house. She showered, did her laundry, and changed. And she thought that she was completely clean of any sand. But Noreen plans and God laughs. She walked into the house and ding, 1 grain of sand came trickling off of her and landed on the floor, and her mother busted her. But either way, this is how they raised kids together, how they raised grandkids together, great-grandchildren, and even a great-great-grandchild. Rosalyn loved watching videos of her descendants, and Irving wrote the instructions on how to use the device. She got pleasure out of watching the videos. He got pleasure out of setting it up for her to watch the videos, because they did everything together. They demonstrated that education is important. Rosalyn knew where everyone was up to. She would look at the kids' report cards, the grandkids' report cards, and she was completely informed. And this is how they raised descendants together. It's impossible to even think of them being apart. As Rosalyn told me, he was my Iron Man, her greatest support. When she was asked by her granddaughter at an advanced age, "Grandma," or "Mom, what's the secret to a long life?" she answered with 1 word. The word was Grandpa. When she was in the hospital, and this is after Irving had passed away, all she wanted was to be back home, to be in the bedroom which she had shared with him. And the card license plate says Irv Roz 1, because that is what they were. They went to a game, and Irving put up signs saying, "I love you, Razel." Irving wasn't just a secret to her long life. Really, he was her secret weapon to success in everything in life. And the truth is, this is a very important lesson to all of us. We could learn from Rosalyn and from Irving that the key to success in our lives, in every area of life, career, professional, economic, family, social relationships, the key to success in all those things is to prioritize family and especially one's spouse. Now, this doesn't mean that she didn't have her own personality out of her marriage. She obviously did. She worked as a comptometer operator. She enjoyed music, her own music, Frank Sinatra, Barbra Streisand. There were foods that she cooked and food that she'd like to eat, like bananas. She enjoyed her Thursday visits to the beauty salon. She luxuriated in the bathtub, and she despised cold weather. I think today might be maybe warm enough for her. Maybe. She had her own sense of style. She liked to be presentable in a classy, sparkly way, and she had a handbag to match each of her seasons, each of her shoes. She put time into her makeup, into her routine. She was gracious, genuine, sincere, and she did not say what she did not mean. She had perseverance. She was courageous. She overcame internal as well as external challenges. She had a great memory. She was very intelligent. She was thorough. She valued excellence and even perfection, and she would do things well. She was curious. She was engaged in life. And even in her 90s, she said, there's still more to do. She was appreciative. She expressed gratitude to those who helped her. She was a good listener, and you could feel safe sharing your deepest feelings with her. And she was not a sports fan. Even Irving couldn't get her to have an interest in the Cubs or the Bears. So she definitely had a distinct personality and character and ethos. But the story of her life is a story of her relationship with Irving. And her success at raising generations of descendants is a tribute to that and a lesson to all of us. Last Wednesday, she gathered her family together in person or on video, and she said, I feel like I'm leaving, and she said goodbye. Her physical life is indeed over, but her spiritual life is not. And when her family lives by her example, as beautiful Jewish people, her life continues through them. May her soul be bound in the bond of eternal life. Tehei nafsha tzura b'tzor ha'chaim. At this point, we're going to ask her son David to share a few words.
Love and courage. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, last of the Kurtz sisters. You will always be cherished and remembered. I know you and Dad are together, smiling and holding hands. I know your soul is at rest.
Beautiful. Rosalyn will be missed by her children, David and Hillary, Noreen, Michael, by her grandchildren, Megan and Stephen, Heather and Robert, Sharon, Aaron, Josh and Shannon, by her great-grandchildren, Benjamin, Henry, Yasha, Zion, Beni Ani, Josephine, and her great-grandchild, Keimano. At this point, we're going to lower the casket. If there's anything we ever did in the last over 9 decades that wasn't ideal for Rosalyn, we ask her forgiveness and apologize and send her off to the next world with a full and complete heart. This is the last opportunity that we have as people to give anything to Rosalyn, to help her in any way. The last thing she needs as a human being on this earth is someone to help with laying down the soil to cover the grave. And for this reason, it's our custom that we will do our best to do all the work ourselves, do all the shoveling ourselves, and not to rely on the cemetery staff, but to lay the soil in the grave by our own efforts. This is the last thing we can do for her on this earth. So when they finish with this machinery to lower the vault cover, then they're going to provide us with a mound of soil next to the open grave, and we'll take shovels and we'll get to work. And the tradition is that we don't pass the shovel hand to hand, rather we put it down and let the next person pick it up. And the reason for that is that we don't give someone directly something associated with a sad event. Please step forward and participate in the burial. Hatur Tam Palai, Kikodracha Mishpat, Hel, Lemonavina, the Antifiashahu. Hatur Tam Hotayal, Mirror, Lematifal, Hashal, Namata Mal, Amos Machaya, Merge, Shovia, Hatur Tam Homase, Mirror Matase. I'm a voice, has been a lot of times, was Hanagasa, Hashivase, Tadik, Hodracha, Hatur Tamin, Erhapam, or the Lachim, Homona, Hosna, Hos running. خاطر أصدقاء تراحمين هذه حتى لو هم صلاحيس عشرة يدخل يقدرين كارو خايس خليل خاص تخن يلهم خايس يونا أنا خلي براحم لين اللي تكرو خايس كيل خاطر هسراحم بعض خايس أدم إن بنشنا يا يالشنا يخيا ما يسر لاي كل هاي هي بارتاين أمس ميمس نخايا بارخوك أمس ديناي محرت بخقبيناي مشام هذا خشبان في ديناي هكال نشماي هدايني تينو Dano, I deny that I can shoot a tis I put for a heart to skip Bishop Taha. The Ilahar Achim of Shotaha, had the Kata, deny if you're Shotaha, Diana MS, Shake Tatic MS, or Diana MS, Shakal, Bishpata, Tatic MS, Knafish Call, Kai Yodha, Tatic Malay, Mincha Yodaha, Rachim Plata, Sign Yodaha, Samer Malach, Yodaha, God, eight of Rav Holila, Asher, Necha, Pakuchas, Kaldar Hibnadam. Last is the ish, Kidrach of the Khifimala, the Hagi Kashar to know it's Rifla of Asabai. I deny no son, I deny Lockach, he shame the name Playrach, Farha Professors here, Lasha Play, Player called Hamasai. Lam, I'd say, Ahmed Mizmar, Shimuzais Kalamim, Hasinu Koyish, Vihalet, Gamadam Gami, Shahadash Avian, P. Dabakach Miss Hagusli, but two noise, Atal, Marshall Asni, F. Tapachin, Tasi, Lama, Ira, Ra, Avanak. Akavi Hisveni, Haboit Chimach, Helam, Brave Asham, Halu, Odd, Ach, Loy, Father Yifta Ish, Loyitin Lehim, Kafroin, Viaker, Pidjoin, Benasham, Hadam, Lelam, Vichi, or the Netzach, Loy, Yira, Shachas, Kiracham, Imusu, Yachat, Silva, Sividum, Vazulach, Air, Helam, Kirb, Matem, Lelam, Mishnesam, Davidar, Karbish, Mysam, Aliadamais, Adam, Bikavli, Bayolin, Shehem, Nidmum, Zadarakam, Ches, Lama, Vacharem, Fiam, years of Sela, Kitsoil, the Shal Shatum of Ziram, the Yurdu, Vam Yisharam, La Boiker, Vitsuram, the Valos, Shal, Mizuvaloi, Achlihim, Yiftan, Afshimat Shal, Ki Kheni Sela, Atira, Ki Asher, Ish, Ki Yerbek, Vadesoim, Ki Loib, my say Kakakol, Lair Dacharav Kvadai, Ki Nafshi Bechai, Varech, Duchak, Sativlach, Tave Adar Vaisov, Hadnesach La Yura, Adam Bikar, Valayavin, Nishak Hey, Mois Nidmu. Now we're going to recite Kaddish. So, David, Michael, please come up. Here. There's something like this. Okay, get from there. Okay, you can get the big one or get a small one. Okay, the big one. Okay, now. Let's like this. Here. This way. Okay, I'll say it with you. Ready? Yiskadal v'yiskadash mei rabba. Amen. V'olma dehu asid v'yiskadata ul'achaya pesaya ul'shachlala hechalei ul'mifrak chaya ul'mivnei karta d'Yerushalayim Ulemekar Pochana Nufra Me'are V'lasova Pochana Kadisha Tishmaya La'asre V'zive V'ikare V'shchite V'yatzmach Pokane V'ikarev Meshiche V'chayechoin V'yomechoin V'chaye D'chol Beis Yisrael Tiskalei Charba V'chafna U'moisna Minana, Mikol, Ama, Beis, Yisrael, Bagala, Uvizman, Kariv, Vimru, Amen. Yehei, Shmei, Rabba, Mevorach, La'olam, La'olmei, Omaya, Yisparech, V'yishtabach, V'yisba'er, V'yisroimam, V'yisnasei, V'yishadar, V'yishaleh, V'yishalol, Shmei, Dekucha, Brichu, Ve'ela, Min, Kol, Birchasa, V'shirasa, Tushbachasa, V'nechemasa, Tamiran, Ba'olma, V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Tovim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Take this back. Oise Shalom B'mroimav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Good job. Good job. And now we're going to recite Kilmoli. El Moli Rachamim Shoichen Bamroimim Hamtzei Menucha Nechoina Al Kanfei Ashchina B'malas Kedoshim Utahirim Kezoyer Harakia Mazhirim Es Nishmas Rezel Bas Yitzchak Shahol Chala Ilama Ba'avor Shenetum Stak Avaz Karas Nishmasa Began Eiden Tehei Menuchasa L'chein Bal Harachamim Yastireha B'Seser Knafav Lo'ilamim V'Yitzrar B'Tzar Chaim Es Nishmasa Adinoi Hu Nachalasa V'Zenuach HaMeshkal B'Shalom V'Noi Mar Amen. O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant proper rest in the wings of divine presence, in the lofty levels of the holy and the pure ones, who shine like the glow of the firmament, for the soul of Razel, daughter of Yitzchak, who went on to her world, whose people are contributing charity and remembrance of her soul. May her resting place be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the Master of Mercy shelter her in the shelter of his wings for eternity, and may he bind her soul in the bond of life. God is her heritage, and may she repose in peace on her resting place. Let us respond, Amen.
I could ask everyone in attendance that's not wearing a career ribbon to please come in this direction. We're going to form a corridor that the immediate family members will pass through. Everyone this way, please. Fill in here to the roadway, please. Thank you.
Hamakoin, Menachem, Estem, Besoid, Shar, Adela, Zion, Yerushalayim. Hamakoin, Menachem, Estem, Besoid, Shar, Adela, Zion, Yerushalayim. Hamakoin, Menachem, Estem, Besoid, Shar, Adela, Zion, Yerushalayim.
This concludes the service here at the cemetery. Thank you.